Father-in-law Kaido's monster cells create the strongest beasts. 11. The daring Peggy hijacks the gold in the sky. No, Xing refused without thinking. Why? Yamato was stunned for a moment, then his voice was full of grievances. Xing's husband always fulfilled her request. No. Xing has a completely non-negotiable tone. Humphrey. Yamato got angry and shook off Xing's arm. Don't look at Yamato's attitude as a little woman. That's only when facing Liu Crossing. Usually, Yamato is not easy to mess with. Inheriting Kaido's powerful talent, she is no less powerful than the three calamities at a young age. In the original book, she can even fight the Thunder 8 trigrams with Kaido in the human-beast state. Seeing that Yamato was really angry, Xing's tone softened. Wife, your strength is already strong enough. The fruit is in Phantom Beast, so why do you want to eat monster cells? Yamato turned his head and hummed, I want to defeat the old man and give back the freedom of the Wano people. It is said that the country is easy to change, but the nature is difficult to change. Yamato really no longer worships Kozuki-eden, but his inner yearning for freedom, that pure kindness, has not changed. She is extremely disliked by the way Dad Kaido and the current Wano General Loki are doing. Under their rule, the Wano people even had a problem with eating, and they were miserable. Xing sighed slightly. As a transmigrator, he also disagreed with some of the practices of his father-in-law Kaido. However, he knew even more that it was not okay to be as hard as Yamato. It would only be counterproductive. Some things have to be done slowly. Xing took a step forward, put his arms around Yamato's shoulders, and said seriously, Wife, I promise you that I will definitely change the situation of the Wano people. But you also have to promise me, and you have to listen to me in the future. Yamato turned his anger into joy, and turned around happily. A pair of slender arms wrapped around Xing's neck, his beautiful eyes sparkling. Husband, are you telling the truth? Of course. When did I lie to you? Mua. Yamato kissed Xing excitedly. Husband, you are so kind. As long as you can help the people of Wano, no matter what you ask me to do. Xing stared at the sweet jade-like face close at hand, and suddenly felt very hungry. Under Yamato's exclamation of "Ah!" he hugged the small waist that he was holding, and rushed to the room. A few hours later, from the room came Yamato's feeble glutinous voice. But husband, people still want to eat monster cells. There was a crisp snap, followed by Xing's voice. Do you just want to be ugly? After eating the monster cells, your body and skin will not be as beautiful as they are now. If you don't believe me, go see Peggy 1, Fuzzy, and the others. Those sharp teeth and sharp mouths, the appearance can make the child cry. Yeah, will it become ugly? Then I won't eat it. I won't eat it. On the vast sea, two ships flying the flag of the Skull are fighting. Obviously they are pirate ships. It's the Beast's pirates. Run, run. The situation is completely one-sided. In front of Auntie and Peggy, the two brothers and sisters who have now reached the level of 3 disasters, the captain of the other party is still a big pirate with a bounty of hundreds of millions, but he is still completely defeated. Headbutt strike. Sister Auntie's golden forehead smashed into the air, sending out a ferocious shockwave. Don't kill me. I'll give you all my treasures. The captain was so frightened that he fell to his knees and begged for mercy. But the next moment, under the powerful shockwave, he was smashed to pieces, and not even the scum was left. Peggy 1 looked envious and said, Sister, in the future, you should stop calling him a swollen-headed dragon, and call it the Phantom Beast, the golden-headed dragon. After eating the ghost-level monster cells, Auntie's forehead, which was extremely hard, was now golden, harder than diamonds. You don't even need to touch the enemy to send out a shockwave comparable to a laser. The minions under him carry the treasure into their own boat. Looking at the boxes of gold and silver jewelry, Peggy 1 said dissatisfiedly, It's too little. With such a little money, it's not enough for the concubine. Auntie said angrily, It's not bad. Now the pirates in New World are like cowards. Most of them hide in their nests and dare not come out. If they see our flag, they will turn around and run, and they won't be able to catch up. The wanton looting of the 100 beasts has already made New World panic. Who would dare to show off their wealth like before? Even the other 4 emperors were unwilling to fight against the 100 beasts for a little money. No, it can't go on like this, Peggy said as if he had made up his mind. When I came out this time, the concubine promised me that as long as the task was done well, I would invent a prop that would allow me to evolve into a phantom beast. I can't just go back like this. Sister, why don't we rob the gold in the sky? As soon as the words fell, Auntie jumped up and slapped Peggy on the head hard. What did you say? Robbing the gold in the sky? Xiao, you don't want to die. The gold in the sky, which is the treasure dedicated to the celestial dragons by various countries, is escorted by a large number of elite marines. Ordinary people want to rob the sky for gold. It is too long for life. Peggy 1 looked disapproving. Sister, with our current strength, Are we still afraid of those Marines who are escorting us? Even if the world government sends troops to arrest us, we would have returned to Wano-Kuni long ago. Can they still enter Wano-Kuni? Wano-Kuni is located in a dangerous place and is guarded by the boss of Kaido. It is a fool's dream that the world government wants to invade. When Auntie thought about this, she couldn't help but be moved. The adventure factor lurking in her body made her eyes glow with excitement. Okay, Pei, let's go to the big ticket together. The daring siblings immediately sent someone to search for traces of gold in the sky. 12. Crane's shock. She actually lost to two little devils. Ask for a flower evaluation. Add Marine's chief advisor, Juru, a Marine veteran of the same era as Sengoku and Garp. The strength is extremely tyrannical, and Shikibu Kaido Flamingo, who he once chased, has no way to go to heaven and no way to enter the ground. Such a big man has come to New World at this moment. You can imagine how happy the Marines would be. Great staff. I didn't expect that your old man would come out in person. With you in charge, even if the Beast's pirates loot again, we won't be afraid of them anymore. Yeah, the robbery of the Beast group is not limited to pirates, but also Marines. There are already more than a dozen Marine fortresses, which have been looted by the Beasts. Crane's arrival this time is to investigate the information of the 100 Beasts on the one hand, and to protect Marine of New World on the other hand. Staff Crane, you came just in time. Now there is an important matter, and I am afraid you need your old help. Here, the base chief of Marine Base stepped forward and said respectfully. Crane seemed to know what the base commander was talking about. You mean the heavenly gold dedicated to celestial dragons? Yes, Staff Officer the latest batch of heavenly gold is already on its way. I'm worried that the 100 Beasts may loot. Such concerns are extremely unlikely. After all, judging from past experience, even the 4 emperors would not dare to make an idea of gold in the sky easily. But now it has to be guarded. The wanton looting of the 100 Beasts was too crazy, and it might have been red-eyed, and they robbed Tanshangjin's head. Crane also had this concern and got up to act. Then I will escort me personally. At the same time, sisters and brothers Auntie and Peggy also found traces of gold in the sky. The two sides arrived at the location of the gold in the sky at almost the same time. Beast's pirates really dare to rob the gold in the sky. Are they crazy? Looking at the pirate flag fluttering not far ahead, the Marines accompanying them were so shocked that they couldn't believe their eyes. The 100 Beasts group is the first 4 emperors group that dares to fight the golden idea in the sky. Crane whispered that she was lucky. But fortunately she arrived in time. Otherwise, if Tanshangjin was really hijacked by the Beasts, she would be punished by the 5 elders even in her status. Pirate ship. Peggy said to Auntie in amazement. There are quite a lot of Marines on the opposite side. The old woman in the lead seems to be Marine's big staff Crane. The distance between the two sides is already quite close, and the Crane naturally heard Pijawan's words. She put her hands behind her back. Her eyes swept across the faces of Auntie and Pijawan, and said indifferently, you two should be Flubao from Beast's pirates. You are young, and your strength is not weak. Since you know the old man, why don't you get out? The Crane's tone was very confident. When she came, she had already done intelligence work for the 100 Beasts, and wrote down the famous and surnamed characters in the 100 Beasts. Of course, it also assessed who would threaten her. Kaido himself need not say more. If his subordinates only encounter one of the 3 disasters, the Crane has the confidence to fight against him. If she is unfortunate enough to encounter 2 or 3 disasters, then she can only temporarily avoid the edge. As for Flubao under the 3 disasters, even if he encounters 3 or 2 people at one time, the Crane is not afraid at all. But unfortunately, the information of the Crane is outdated. The current strength of Flubao is not comparable to before. The old woman's tone is not small. While Peggy sneered, he glanced at the sky gold filled with a big ship, and rubbed his hands excitedly. With these treasures, I can send business to the concubine. Auntie knocked Peggy on the head. Don't just think about treasure, kill these Marines first. Crane's brows furrowed. The 2 little devils on the opposite side were not afraid of her at all. If you don't know her, that's fine. Since you know she's a dignified Marines chief staff officer, why don't you have any intention of retreating? It seems that Loshin hasn't made a move for many years, and the reputation of Loshin has been forgotten in the sea. Crane smiled lightly and said to Auntie and Pijawan, today, I will teach you a word. Young people should not be too arrogant. Stop talking nonsense, old lady. Pijawan couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to grab the heavenly gold immediately. Can I be called a young man when I'm not angry? Pijawan transformed into an orc form. His 2 thick thighs exerted force, and his strong jumping force made him rise into the air, and then landed on the deck of the Marine warship. Kill the pirates. A group of Marines immediately attacked. Pijawan had a ferocious smile on his face, and Senhan's sharp claws were exposed. Marine's body was like paper, and he was easily killed one by one. You are not his opponents. Step back. Crane gave orders loudly and confronted Peggy. Ferocious Spinosaurus, let the old man wash away your sins. Crane has the ability to wash fruit, and can wash anything into clothes and hang it to dry. It is said that even a human mind can be slightly purified. There is a Crane staff shot, That guy is dead. The sailors looked at Peggy One with schadenfreude. In just a short time, One had already killed several of their brothers. However, it didn't take long for their gloating expressions to change to consternation, because they found out that Staff Officer Crane couldn't take One for a long time, and even under One's sharp claws, he was in danger several times. How is this possible? The sailors were stunned. When did the strength of Flu Bao become so strong? It is almost the same as the three disasters. Crane himself was even more shocked, and his previous self-confidence had long since vanished. How old is this kid to be able to compete with her? Crane became more and more startled. Brother, let me help you. A swollen-headed dragon joined the battlefield, the elder sister Auntie. Under the siege of the sister and brother, the crane immediately appeared in danger. She was even more horrified to find that the newly added Auntie's strength was even stronger than One's. 100 beasts. Where did so many monsters come from? She is a dignified marine veteran, but she is actually defeated by two little devils. Crane couldn't understand. The information she got was obviously not like this. 13. Vibrating Marine Headquarters, for flower evaluation. A few days later, the entire Marine headquarters was shaken as Crane dragged his heavily wounded body back to Marineford. That's Master Chief Staff Officer Crane. How could she be so seriously injured? It seems that Staff Crane was ordered by Marshal Sengoku to go to the New World to inquire about the Beasts pirates. Could it be that Kaido of the Beasts personally did it? If it's Kaido of the Beasts, it wouldn't be surprising. It's the strongest creature on land, sea and air. However, the dozen or so dejected sailors who followed the Crane back to Marineford said something that shocked everyone. It wasn't Kaido. It was two of Kaido's Flu Bao who wounded the Crane's staff. When a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral heard this, his face was full of disbelief. Flu Bao's bounty is basically less than 500 million. Even if it is 2-on-1, staff he will not be afraid of them, let alone being injured like this. The sea soldier said with a sad face, "We can't believe it, but the truth is like this." Then he uttered a sentence that made the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral feel thunderous. The gold in the sky was also robbed. What did you say? There was infinite horror in the eyes of Vice Admiral. How angry will the celestial dragons of the world nobles be when the gold in the sky is robbed? What thunderous rage will the five elders unleash? This time, not only Staff Crane, but also Marshal Sengoku will luckily be punished. Now, Office of the Marshal, Marine Marshal Sengoku, Hero Garp, Admiral Akainu, Admiral Aokiji, Admiral Kizaru, and basically all of Marine's top forces are gathered here. Xiao, tell us the details of the battle that day. Sengoku looked at Crane, who had been bandaged, trying to suppress the anger and shock in his heart, and said slowly. The Crane took a deep breath, and the old eyes seemed to still have the fear of that day, and said, "After I arrived in the New World, I was worried about the safety of the gold in the sky, so I decided to escort it myself. I didn't expect someone who happened to meet the Beasts pirates to come and loot. Which of the three disasters is leading? Or two of the three disasters together?" Sengoku asked directly. "It's not the three disasters. There are only two Flu Bao, Auntie and One." "What?" Sengoku, Garp, and the three admiral all stood up in disbelief. How can the two youngest Flu Bao be the opponents of the Crane? He smiled bitterly and said, Lao Shen was very confident at first, but he immediately realized that something was wrong. That kid named One, who is less than 20 years old, can play on par with the old man, and his strength will never be weaker than the three disasters. Her sister Auntie is even more powerful. She is obviously an ancient species, a swollen head dragon fruit, but her forehead is golden, harder than diamond, and can even emit shock waves, just like an illusion. Sengoku and Garp only felt that their worldview was impacted. Peggy One, a kid with a bounty of less than 300 million, how could his strength suddenly skyrocket to no less than the three calamities? That Auntie, an ancient zone fruit, can actually exert the power of an illusory beast? Incredible. Arabian Nights. If it wasn't for knowing that Crane couldn't lie, Sengoku couldn't help but scold Crane for talking nonsense. Damn Beasts pirates, damn Kaido. They're a growing threat to the world, and this time they've robbed the heavenly gold. Akainu, who hates evil and believes in absolute justice, smashed the table hard, and the fiery lava turned the table to ashes. Marshal Sengoku, let me attack Wonokuni. The Beasts pirates can't let this go on. Sengoku raised his hand and asked Akainu to sit down. Sakazuki, don't be so impulsive. We still don't know why their strength suddenly skyrocketed. What's more, Wonokuni can't be defeated by you alone. Wonokuni, whose terrain is extremely dangerous, is guarded by Kaido, and unless Marine comes out of the nest, it is impossible to take down. But can Marine come out in full force? Aren't you afraid of being attacked by other four emperors? Not afraid of Marineford emptiness? So, Akainu's words simply don't work. Admiral Aokiji said at this time, it is the top priority to find out the reason for their soaring strength. Good. Sengoku looked approvingly, and looked at Aokiji, a little like his successor. Xiao, have you heard any information on this? Crane Kaido, I took a prisoner, and I learned from his mouth that the reason why they became stronger was something called monster cells invented by the beast consort. Concubine of the beasts. Weird cells? Sengoku, Garp, and the three admiral all looked at each other, blank faces. Kaido does seem to have a son-in-law, but I haven't heard of any ability, Garp said uncertainly. What is that monster cell? Crane shook his head. I don't know, but the prisoner I captured also ate monster cells. You can send him to Vegapunk and let Vegapunk analyze it. It can only be done. Sengoku sighed and rubbed his brows, feeling a headache. To make matters worse, he had to report this to the five elders later. Compared with the shaking of Marine's headquarters, the island of Anna was a bliss. The treasures that Auntie and Peggy brought back this time are almost piled up into a hill. Master Consort, do you see enough money this time? Peggy was so complacent that her nose was almost up in the sky. Enough is enough, Xing scolded with a laugh. How dare you go to rob the sky for gold? You are so daring. Peggy laughed and patted his ass. If it weren't for the eccentric cells of the concubine, I would have the courage and no strength. So it's all thanks to the concubine. Xing laughed inwardly. Peggy's flattery was clearly aimed at the empty check he made earlier. Don't worry, Pei, I haven't forgotten about helping you evolve humans. Xing patted Peggy on the shoulder and said flickeringly, I'm going to invent the gravity house now, which will definitely benefit your cultivation. 14. Monster cells comparable to devil fruit. Ask for a flower evaluation. The Holy Land Marie Joys, located on the Red Line, is home to the celestial dragons. Similarly, it is also the palace of the world's highest power controller, the Five Elders. Marine Marshal Sengoku, who had just been scolded by the Five Elders, came to a very secret laboratory somewhere in Marie Joy's in a bad mood. Here is the Research Institute of Vegapunk, the chief scientist of the world government, who is known to be 500 years ahead of the world. Vegapunk was wearing a white lab coat and thick glasses, and there was an expression of undisguised astonishment in his expression. Did the autopsy come out? Sengoku asked hastily. Before going to meet the Five Elders, Sengoku handed over the captive that Crane had taken back to Vegapunk. Vegapunk nodded and said, fortunately not to be humiliated. That weirdo cell directly changes the structure and internal structure of the human body from the level of bloodline factors, thereby greatly increasing the strength of the user. And this increase in strength is permanent. The bloodline factor level? Sengoku was shocked, his eyes showing horror. The bloodline factor, that has already involved the realm of God. Vegapunk was researched to this point before it was regarded by the world government as a more threatening existence than the four emperors, so he was arrested and imprisoned here. Yeah, Vegapunk's tone was full of admiration. Although I have also studied the bloodline factor and developed the first artificial devil fruit, it is far inferior to the one who made the monster cells. It can be said that the monster cells are completely comparable to the naturally born devil fruit. The artificial devil fruit he developed, although it can give people ability, has a very low success rate, and it can increase the strength of each person. Unlike monster cells, it can at least double the strength of the user. Sengoku was speechless in shock. It is comparable to the devil fruit that was born naturally. No wonder Peggy of the 100 Beasts group's strength suddenly soared to the level of 3 disasters. No wonder the one named Auntie was able to develop the fruits of ancient species to the level of phantom beasts. I see. Marshal Sengoku, do you know who invented the monster cell? Vegapunk stared closely at Sengoku. He is really curious about the person whose research ability is still higher than his, and has a sense of admiration and sympathy for each other. It is said to be the concubine of the beasts, named Liu Crossing. There is very little information about him from the outside world, almost nothing. Sengoku said a little absent-mindedly. Beasts Pirates has acquired such a big killer as the monster cell, and it is hard to predict what kind of major impact it will have on the future world pattern. What kind of countermeasures should their marines prepare? Liu Xing. Not knowing what Sengoku was thinking, Vegapunk repeated Liu Xing's name and said extremely seriously, I have a hunch that Liu Xing, the concubine of all animals, may become a more terrifying existence than Kaido himself. Liu Xing, who was called by Vegapunk as likely to surpass Kaido in the future, is now in the laboratory. Craft the triple gravity chamber, the primary time room, and the battle gauge. The triple gravity room, as the name suggests, is a training room that can provide a triple gravity environment. It costs about 10 million Baileys to make one. The primary time house, compared to the time house in the Dragon Ball world, has a slower flow of time, and the conversion ratio to the outside time is 30:1. That is, 1 day has passed in the outside world, and 1 month has passed in the primary time room. In addition, perhaps because it involves the concept of time, the time house cannot be created infinitely like the gravity chamber, but can only create one at most. Also, there can only be 2 people entering the time house. It is for this reason that Liu Xing did not tell his father-in-law Kaido about the invention of the time house before. Liu Xing planned to let only himself and his wife Yamato enter the primary time room to practice. The last combat power meter is not much use, it's just the icing on the cake. However, the value of the Dragon Ball World combat power measurement seems to have some bugs. After Liu Xing's improvement, the measuring instrument is more in line with the combat power of the pirate world. This day, when Liu Xing walked out of the laboratory, Peggy, who had been waiting outside for a long time, immediately greeted him. Master Consort, has the research and development been successful? Of course. Do you want to go in and use it now? Peggy nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. These days, he was dying of worry. Seeing Peggy rushing into the laboratory, Xing shouted from behind, I'm going to say that before, the gravity training room is to help people to cultivate. If you can't endure hardships or work hard, and you can't evolve into a phantom beast, don't blame me. Got it, concubine. Xing smiled, muttered something silly, and then walked in. Peggy stood in front of the triple gravity room and was about to enter when he suddenly saw a strange instrument beside him and asked subconsciously, what is this? The combat strength meter. Xing said slowly, it is used to measure the strength of a person. Measuring strength? Peggy eyes lit up. Then I will try. As he spoke, he walked to the combat power meter and punched it. Drop. After the combat power meter beeped, a value appeared on the display, 5,000. With the measuring instrument improved by Xing, the combat power of an ordinary adult is about 10, and the level of the 3 disasters is between 5,000 and 10,000. Peggy is just 5,000, which is at the threshold of the 3 disaster level, 15. If you grab the first time, there will be a second time, for flower evaluation. Besides the nickname, the concubine has a new invention. Besides the nickname, there is no threshold for using this new invention of the consort. Everyone can use it. To the Batman in the Legion of the Empowerers, and call sign in the sky on the Island of Ghosts. The pirates of the 100 Beasts who heard the sound were so excited that they hurried to the direction of the Scientific Research Department. I don't know what the concubine invented this time. Whatever it is, what the concubine invented is definitely not bad. Listen to Batman, this invention has no threshold for use. That's the most important thing. Yeah, the weirdo cells last time, like us, who have neither the zone fruit ability nor the physique, can't bear it at all. These pirate minions rushed to the research department with all their strength, and they also have a stronger heart. At the same time, Kaido himself even turned into a blue dragon, and brought 3 disasters and flew out to Xing's laboratory in an instant. Father-in-law. Xing saluted slightly. Kaido laughed, and the more he looked at this son-in-law now, the more pleasing his eyes were. Sometimes he even felt that maybe the best decision he made in his life was to marry his daughter Yamato to Lua Crossing. The gravity chamber was made so soon? Yes, Pei is going in to try it out. Okay. Kaido's eyes flashed with anticipation. Xing took a look at the 3 disasters behind Kaido, Flu Bao, and other members of the 100 Beasts who kept coming, and suggested, there are too many people, and the laboratory can't hold it. Let's go outside for an interview. So Peggy moved the gravity chamber outside. The combat power measuring instrument that Quinn had brought, was immediately intrigued when Xing said that the seemingly inconspicuous instrument in his hand could measure combat power. As soon as he got outside, he punched the combat power meter. The combat power is 8,888, and the value is still very auspicious. Seeing that his combat power value was so high, Quinn was so proud that he asked Jin to measure it as well. Jin's combat power value, 9,666, is approaching 10,000. Quinn's mouth twitched when he saw it. He pulled Xing's sleeve, and asked quietly, Master Consort, when will the dragon-level monster cells you mentioned be successfully produced? Xing reluctantly said, don't worry, after making it, you will definitely be the first to eat it. The novelty of the combat power meter has aroused widespread interest. Flu Bao went to test it, and the combat power was basically around 7 or 8,000. For the warriors of the Legion of Empowerers, some were 3 or 4,000, some 1 or 2,000, but none were less than 1,000. Most of the remaining little guys who didn't eat the artificial devil fruit had a few hundred combat power, and the weak ones were even dozens. Seeing so many people taking the test, Kaido couldn't help pitching. When his fist like a hill landed on the combat power meter, the value on the display suddenly jumped to 40 or 50,000. It caused a gasp of cold air. As expected of Kaido boss, even Xing couldn't help but sigh. A random punch has such combat power. The strongest creature is indeed well deserved. In the original book, he lost to the Straw Hat Luffy's sun god fruit, which is so unreasonable. Cheap father-in-law, with me here, I will definitely not let you fall into that situation again. When I make a god-level monster cell and make you the real strongest in history, any bullshit sun god will have to die. The thing Xing hated the most in his life was the destiny. Heaven destined the sun god fruit to become One Piece? He just wants to break this law. Not much gossip. Just saying that after measuring the combat power, Peggy slowly walked into the gravity room under the attention of everyone in the 100 Beasts. By the way, Xing suddenly remembered something and reminded, the gravity inside is 3 times that of the outside, so you have to be careful. Peggy didn't think so. It's just gravity. He is an ancient zone kind of ability, and his strength is comparable to the 3 disasters. How can he be afraid of this? However, the face slap moment is in the next second. The moment he stepped into the triple gravity room, it seemed as if a huge mountain was suddenly pressing down on him. Peggy didn't hold back, and actually knelt down on one knee. FK. Quinn let out a foul language. Prince Consort, to tell the truth, Did this house you invented eat the fruit of gravity to be so strong? Jin, Jack and the others were also stunned, especially Jack the Drow. He has played against Peggy 1 and knows Peggy 1's physical strength. Unexpectedly, under the gravity, it would not be able to hold it. Drink. Peter 1 knew that he had lost his face. His face was red. He let out a low growl, and turned into a human beast form. Carrying triple gravity, he stood up. Good job, Pei. Runty shouted with joy. Peggy 1 persisted in it for a full quarter of an hour before walking out, and his footsteps were a little weak. Then, 3 disasters, flying 6 kingdoms, and some real fighters also went in to experience it. When he came out, his expression was both excited and amazed. Quinn exclaimed, Master Consort, I have convinced you that you can even control gravity. What else can't you invent? Kaido also went in, but triple gravity didn't have much effect on his pervert's physique. Liu Xing's voice said, the longer you persist in the gravity chamber, the better the training effect will be. If you want to know the results of your cultivation, you can use the combat power meter when you enter and when you exit. It can be expected that, according to this method, the combat power of the 100 beasts will definitely increase every day. Kaido's face was about to burst into laughter. The subordinates use the gravity room to practice every day, and when the strength increases to a certain level, they can take the monster cells, and the strength skyrockets again. As such, is it still far from his dream of becoming the Pirate King and from launching the world's top war? Son-in-law, try to build gravity chambers, the more the better. Liu Xing said implicitly. Father-in-law, a gravity room costs 30 million Baileys. Kaido knew what Liu Xing was going to say, so he interrupted. Money is not a problem. After stealing the heavenly gold once, Lozi is afraid of stealing it a second time. 16. The reaction of all parties, seeking the evaluation of flowers. Triple gravity room plus combat power measuring instrument equals the era of crazy training for all members of the 100 beasts. In the age of the great pirates, being weak is the original sin. There are shortcuts to becoming stronger, which one will not work hard. So, the beasts pirates have seen an unprecedented spectacle. Except for the members who have a mission, the rest of them are all sweating hard in the gravity room to practice. They usually go in while standing and then crawl out. Although the image is not very good, the enhancement of strength is the most real. When the strength accumulates to a certain level, it bursts out, enough to shock the whole sea. As for Liu Xing, the initiator, of course, he is not idle. While looking at the system points that were increasing all the time, he returned home and said to Yamato's wife, Wife, we have to practice hard too. Yamato has no objection to this point, and defeating the old man Kaido has always been her goal. Did you go to the gravity room to practice? Yes and no. Liu Xing smiled mysteriously. Actually, I also invented a time room with a different time flow rate than the outside world. I have combined it with the gravity room. In this way, our cultivation efficiency is much higher than that of the outside world. Other people. Yamato listened, his eyes filled with adoring little stars. Husband, you are so amazing. A mouthful of mua. The two entered the time gravity room. Liu Xing took out a piece of clothing and let Yamato put it on. Yamato blushed slightly. Is this the stretch underwear that my husband invented before? Why do you have to wear this? Cough cough. Wife, don't think too much. I'm mainly afraid that you will be cultivating later, and your clothes will be damaged when you want to transform. Really? A suspicious tone. Of course it's true. Liu Xing looked serious. Okay, then I'll listen to my husband. Yamato put on a stretch jacket. The so-called stretch clothes, as the name suggests, are clothes that completely fit the curve of the human body and can be stretched freely. Liu Xing's eyes straightened a little. The tights showed Yamato's perfect figure without reservation, reminding him of the female trainer in the gym in his previous life. Let's practice quickly. Liu Xing's throat rolled a bit and said slightly dry. Vegapunk's conclusion that monster cells are comparable to devil fruit was informed by Sengoku Tagap, Juru, San Admiral and other marine executives. Sengoku's intention was to brainstorm and discuss a proper way to deal with the sudden surge in strength of the 100 beasts' use of monster cells. But the solution has not been negotiated yet. This news and the battle between Crane and Runty and Peggy 1 somehow all spread out and caused a huge sensation in the sea. And the first to hear the news, naturally, they were the other 3-4 emperors who had been paying attention to the movements of the 100 beasts for a long time and had the most powerful forces. New World. Hearing Katakuri's report, Auntie didn't even care that the cake she brought to her lips fell to the ground. A monster cell comparable to devil fruit? That old boy Kaido actually has such a good thing. Auntie jumped up, her eyes glowing. If we get this kind of monster cell, one go's strength can be doubled in an instant. Even Whitebeard can be defeated by this old lady. Ha ha, that's awesome. Katakuri said, but Mom, monster cells are only found in beasts pirates. The aunt was not worried, and said in a shrill voice, the old boy Kaido still owes me a huge favor. The old lady asked him for weird cells, and he dared not give it. Moby Dick, the captain of the first team, the Phoenix Marco, was shocked at this time. The monster cells can actually make the ancient fruit of the species exert the power of the phantom beast. Marco himself is a phantom beast, and he knows too much what phantom beasts mean. Add ancient species and phantom beast species cannot be compared at all. The strongest man in the world, Whitebeard Edward Newgate, narrowed his eyes. He and Marco's concerns were not the same. It was Kaido's son-in-law, a young man named Xing, who invented the monster cell. Marco, this person is the crux of the matter. Like Whitebeard, Redhead and Beckman are smart people in the world. They can see at a glance that Xing, who invented the weird cell, is the most important thing. This Xing has no information about him in the past, as if he was born out of nowhere. Beckman exhaled a puff of smoke and frowned. Where did Kaido find such a good son-in-law? There was a hint of envy in the red-haired tone. It would be great if that Xing was his son-in-law. Thinking of her daughter whom she hadn't seen for many years, the red hair couldn't help sighing deeply. There was another person who got the news at almost the same time as the four emperors. That is called Joker in the dark world. On the bright side is the 7 warlords of the sea under the jurisdiction of Marine, and secretly there is a layer of Doflamingo with the identity of celestial dragons. From the high palace of Dressrosa, Doflamingo let out his characteristic magical laugh. Hey, this world is getting more and more interesting. 17. Xing's plan, Aunt calls, for flowers evaluation. Add. Wano Kuni has 6 areas: Flower Capital, Guri, Ximai, Rabbit Ball, Bell Queen, and White Dance. An island is located overseas in Wano Kuni. Among them, the capital of flowers is the most prosperous place in the country, and it is also the residence of the General Wano Kuni Oki. At this moment, in the general mansion of the capital of flowers, the Kurezumi, a small and ugly snake, has a beautiful woman lying in his arms. What? Kaido is coming to Lozi again to ask for money. Hearing the report of his guard captain, Kurashio Lang, Oki's originally happy expression immediately became annoyed. Yes, General, the people sent by Kaido are waiting outside the door. The actual identity is Denjiro, one of the 9 heroes of Xiao. The incarnation of Kurashio Lang said respectfully, but his eyes seemed to inadvertently meet the beauty in Oki's arms. Damn it, Lozi's usual supplies are not enough. How can there be any extra money? The big snake threw the cup to the ground angrily. Kurashio Lang pretended to be terrified. The villain immediately rejects that person. Slow. Oki hesitated. Kaido was his biggest supporter, and he didn't dare to offend Kaido at will. However, being greedy, he was also reluctant to give up the money he had finally plundered from the people of Wano Kuni. At this time, the beauty Xiao's in her arms said, Lord General, I heard that Governor Kaido needs so much money because he invented something called monster cells, which can instantly double a person's strength. Real? Add. The big snake was startled, and he was addicted to pleasure, and he didn't even know what happened under his nose. Kurashio Lang had discussed with Kozuki Hiyori, who goes by the pseudonym Xiozi, and said in a timely manner, Lord General, I have also heard about this. Now the strength of the 100 beasts has almost doubled compared to before, and we are still staying in place. Snapped. The big snake slapped the table heavily and said angrily, Kaido has such a good thing. He doesn't even give it to Lozi, and even asks Lozi for money. Kurashiro, you immediately send someone to the Island of Ghosts and ask Kaido for weird cells. As ordered, General. The corner of Kurashio Lang's mouth twitched, and he glanced at Xiozi again, both showing a tacit smile. 2 people, one is Kozuki Eden's retainer, the other is Kozuki Eden's daughter. Their lurking purpose is to take revenge on Kaido and Oki. But the strength of the enemy is too strong. If it can provoke a rivalry between Oki and Kaido's, that would be great. This time, it's a great opportunity. The person that Kurashio sent to Onishima is also a spy for the Kozuki family. According to Kurashiro's instructions, he looked condescending when he saw Kaido, and ordered Kaido in the tone of a big snake to quickly give him 100 monster cells. Kaido is so violent, he shouted on the spot. In an instant, the sky and the earth change color, the dark clouds gather, and the thunder roars. The man was so frightened that he ran away in a hurry, and before he left, he did not forget to say, Add. This is what General Oki means, and it has nothing to do with the villain. Kaido angrily said, is that bastard trying to court death? Beside, Epidemic Quinn smiled and said, Boss Kaido, it seems that Kurozumi has forgotten who he is. Let me teach him how to be a man. Fire Calamity and Jack the Drow also invited Ying to teach Oki a lesson. Kaido looked to the other side. Son-in-law, what do you think? Today's Kaido pays more attention to Xing than the 3 disasters. Xing came to Kaido to ask for training. As the teacher guy who taught Luffy Conqueror's Entanglement and Fruit Awakening in the original book, he is the best coach in the sea. What Pluton Rayleigh, Black Arm Zephyr, Garp the Fist, have to go back a little bit. Hearing Kaido asking his opinion, Xing's eyes moved slightly, remembering his promise to his wife Yamato. It was just this plan to speak to Kaido and change the status quo of Wano Kuni. So Xing said, Mr. Guy. Ah no, My father-in-law, my son-in-law thinks that the big snake can't be so defiant. He's just a tool used by his father-in-law, and a dog under his command dares to teach his father-in-law to do things. It's outrageous. My son-in-law's opinion is that we should just kill Kurezumi and let Yamato be Wano Kuni's general. Quinn, Jin, and Jack were shocked, and their suggestions were nothing more than a lesson to the snake. But the concubine wanted to kill the big snake directly. Oki and Kaido boss can still cooperate. I don't want to, but Kaido boss laughed and said, it's still Losey's son-in-law who understands Losey's mind. That bullshit snake. Losey wanted to kill him for a long time, but Kaido's face suddenly showed hesitation. Is Yamato willing to be General Wano Kuni? Kaido had told Yamato about this before, but Yamato ignored him at all. Kaido is also helpless. Liu Xing smiled slightly. Yamato sighed. Let me persuade. Kaido was overjoyed, and felt a little sour in his heart. Really married daughter, spilled water, elbows out. It seems that the elbow has not turned inward. After the matter was finalized, Kaido handed over all matters concerning Wano Kuni to Liu Xing to handle. Liu Xing was about to go home and tell Yamato about it. The phone rang. Looking at the appearance of the phone bug, it turned out to be a phone call from Aunt 4 Emperors. 18. Auntie wants weird cells? Yes, 100 million. Begging for flowers. Why is that dead old lady Lin calling Losey? Kaido muttered to himself as he picked up the phone bug. On the other side of the phone bug, a shrill laugh of Mama sounded immediately. Kaido, is your kid still alive? Aren't you dead too? Lin. Aunt Kaido is a pair of enemies, and opening her mouth is a good blessing to each other. Hey, Kaido, don't forget that you still owe the old lady a huge favor. The aunt shouted loudly. Kaido spread his hands. Is there such a thing? Is there any? Lin, don't you eat too much sweets and eat your brain stupid. Liu Xing, who hadn't left here, almost didn't laugh out loud when he heard Aunt Kaido's conversation. I didn't expect that his cheap father-in-law, who always leaked Haki's side, would actually be a rogue. As a traveler, Liu Xing of course knows that the love of heaven in the mouth of the aunt is the phantom beast fish and fish fruit of Kaido. Big Mom gets kicked by Kaido's rogue. Kaido, you bastard. When you were on the Rocks ship, I should have beaten you a few more times. Kaido has an indifferent attitude. Stop talking nonsense. Lin, what's the matter with you looking for Losey? Speaking of business, the aunt held back her anger and said, I heard that you recently got something called a monster cell, which can double the strength of your subordinates. Hurry up and send a few hundred to my mother. What weird cells? Nothing. Unexpectedly, Kaido flatly denied. The aunt laughed angrily. Kaido, you old boy is getting more and more shameless. The old lady has got the exact news from Marine. You still want to play stupid? What's more, it turned out to be the news leaked from Marine's side. Kaido scolded Marine in his heart and sneered. Kaido, even if I have a freak cell, why should Losey give it to you? Lin, if you don't give it, my mother will go to Wano Kuni to grab it. If you dare to come to Wano Kuni, Losey will kill you. Boom. Manic conquerors emanate, accompanied by violent murderous aura. Liu Xing pouted quietly. Continued to install. In the original book, Quinn used sea stone chains to tie Auntie to Kaido's, but Kaido wanted to let Auntie go. After the two had a fight, they smiled and hugged each other, saying that there was no adultery in it and no one believed it. If it weren't for his own wife, he would have no resemblance to his aunt at all. Liu Xing has to suspect Yamato. Kaido and aunt gave birth. Cough cough. Liu Xing did not dismantle the performance of his cheap father-in-law. He stepped forward and said, father-in-law, you should calm down. Since Aunt 4 Emperors wants monster cells, it's not that we can't give her. Kaido covered the phone bug with one hand, turned his head and whispered to Liu Xing, I can't give that dead old woman to Lin. She has more troops than me, and has 80 or 90 children. If she gets monster cells, she will be stronger than Losey. Liu Xing smiled and said, father-in-law, don't worry about that, we only sell her low-level freak cells, and, Liu Xing stretched out a finger, one monster cell, 100 million Baileys. Kaido's eyes widened. The mouth under Jin's mask opened wide. Quinn's face was full of excitement. Jack is thinking, a low-level weirdo cell, the production cost is 300,000 Bailey, and the concubine directly sells it for 100 million. Is it a bit too dark? Black? Liu Xing doesn't think so. Only he can make monster cells, and like devil fruit, they are priceless things, and 100 million Baileys are cheap. Kaido gave Liu Xing a thumbs up, then let go of the phone bug, his tone no longer as harsh as before. Lin. The old man thought about it just now, and it seems that he does owe you a favor. So, I can give you a freak cell, but I can't give it to you for nothing. How about selling it to you for 100 million Bailey? Aunt didn't know the cost of making monster cells. She thought that monster cells were at the same price as devil fruit, and thought she was taking advantage of the sky. She smiled happily. Kaido, your kid is still acquainted. Hurry up and send 50 weirdo cells to my mother. Transaction complete. The aunt who took advantage of the head spent a huge sum of 5 billion to buy 50 tiger-level monster cells from Liu Crossing. Based on the real cost of 100,000 pieces, Liu Xing made a net profit of 4.995 billion Baileys. Of course, Part of the money had to be handed over to the 100 beasts, but the bulk of it went into Liu Xing's pocket. Liu Xing, who was in a very happy mood, was walking home. Quinn followed sneakily, with a flattering smile. "Master Consort, you have made so much money this time, can you give me some?" Liu Xing glanced at him. "Why do you want money?" Quinn said. "Of course, I'm doing research. I recently researched a poison gas bomb, but there is a lack of funds." Epidemic. Quinn's best ability is to study chemical viruses. Liu Xing was too lazy to pay attention to Quinn, but on second thought, since he intends to completely rectify Wano Ni, in addition to the Kurozumi Oki, there are also those hidden remnants of the Kazuki clan that have to be cleaned up by the way. Among them, there are a few hard stubble. Liu Xing was too lazy to do it himself, so it would be good for Quinn to be a pioneer. Then, Liu Xing agreed to Quinn's request, on the condition that Quinn must obey him for a period of time. 19. If you want people to die, you must first make people crazy. For flower evaluation, add. Quinn has no reason to disagree. Anyway, the status of the three disasters is now faintly under the concubine. Even in normal times, he had to do what the concubine ordered him to do. Liu Xing asked Quinn to select 100 warriors for the Empowerer and wait for his order. He then went home and explained to Yamato to change Wano Ni's status quo. Yamato usually practiced hard in the time-gravity room, so when she came out, she was wearing the stretch underwear that Liu Xing gave her. After hearing Liu Xing's words, he jumped into Liu Xing's arms in surprise. "Husband, I knew you wouldn't deceive people." The stretch jacket is tight and thin, so Liu Xing can clearly feel Yamato's beautiful figure. Yamato then hurriedly asked, "Husband, how are you going to change Wano Ni's situation?" Liu Xing said calmly, "That Kurozumi serpent is definitely going to die, but don't let him die too casually, let him die in front of all the Wano Ni people. Wife, it's up to you to execute Kurozumi, and then you can take over as Wano Ni's general. In the future, to improve the livelihood of Wano Ni, we can take it slowly." Yamato nodded his head again and again, only a little dissatisfied, and pouted. "But people don't want to be a general. I also want to go out to sea with my husband to see the outside world." Liu Xing said warmly, "General is just an empty title. After setting the rules, the specific things can be handed over to the people below, and it will not prevent us from traveling around the sea in the future." This time Yamato had no objections and was satisfied. That night, it was even more successful, allowing Liu Xing to unlock several new poses. The next day, Liu Xing took Quinn and 100 elite warriors from the Empowered Legion to the Flower City. These warriors, under the blessing of the monster cells, are not weaker than the original Flu Bao. Everyone is the combat power of hundreds of millions of bounties. General's house. Kurozumi brought a group of guards to welcome Liu crossing. Seeing the powerful aura of their warriors who gave them, the big snake's eyes almost popped out. Liu Xing Consort, your subordinate, how is it so strong? His dignified General Wano Ni's bodyguards, except for a few others such as Shiro, were simply weaker than Liu Xing's men. Liu Xing said lightly, "Because they all ate monster cells." Weird cells. There was endless greed in the eyes of the big snake. If his guards also ate monster cells, they would definitely not be weaker than Liu Xing's subordinates. From now on, his safety will no longer be threatened. Liu Xing Consort, I heard that you brought me 100 monster cells this time. Is that true? The big snake asked with a sullen face. That ugly appearance really made people feel disgusted. However, Liu Xing's expression did not show any strangeness, but his tone was somewhat enthusiastic. "Of course it's true. How could my father-in-law not agree to the general's request?" The big snake was overjoyed and couldn't wait to ask, "That weird cell." Liu Xing reached out his hand, but interrupted Oki's next words and said with a smile, "This matter is of great importance. We should go to the general's mansion to talk about it." The big snake and the chicken nodded again and again as if pecking at the rice. Yes, go in and talk. Go in and talk." All the way into the main hall of the general's mansion. The serpent had already prepared a sumptuous feast. On Liu Xing's side, only he and Quinn were seated, and the rest were waiting outside. Oki didn't bring any guards either, leaving only the guard captain, Shiro. Besides, there is one more person. It is Xiao, the Oiran who is known as the most beautiful woman in Wano Ni, dancing in the center of the hall at this moment. Xiao is dressed in neon clothes, with clouded temples and Jin Yao. With her snow-like skin, she has a graceful figure, still holding a peeper and half covering her face. Worthy of the title of Oiran. Even if he is used to seeing the peerless appearance of his wife Yamato, Liu Xing has to admit that this Kazuki-dan's daughter is a real beauty. Just dance. Kurozumi, the snake sitting on the general's seat, was fascinated, and the plague Quinn was also red-eyed. Only Liu Xing always kept a faint smile on his face without any gaffe. Although Xiao's eyebrows are pleasing to the eye, her more than 10 years of experience in acting on the scene has given her the ability to observe words and feelings far beyond ordinary people. Her intuition told her that the consort of the beasts she met for the first time seemed to be different from anyone she had met before. At this time, the voice of the big snake made her firmer her intuition. Xiao, hurry up and serve wine to Liu Xing's concubine. As usual, Oki must have been impatient to ask her to pour himself a drink. But this time, she didn't. Instead, she sat next to the concubine of the beasts, obviously flattering to the latter. Master consort, please have a drink. Xiao carefully concealed her true thoughts, with a gentle smile on her face, and said softly. Liu Xing glanced at Xiao, just one glance, but Xiao's heart suddenly shuddered, and there was an inexplicable feeling that the whole person was seen through. Thank you. The man drank the wine in the glass, and then looked away from her. Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the clothes behind her were soaked in cold sweat. General Oki. Liu Xing has no plans to reveal the identity of Kazuki Hiyari now, and turned to the big snake and said, the monster cells are powerful enough to double your escort strength. This is a perfect opportunity to promote the majesty of the general to the people of Wano Kuni. I suggest that it is better to let the well-known figures in the 6 areas of Julai, Ximai, Tune, Lingu, and Baiwu come to the flower capital to watch the ceremony, and at the same time spread the video phone bug all over Wano Kuni. Under such a lot of attention, your guards have eaten the monster cells, and their strength has greatly increased, enough to make everyone in Wano Kuni even more in awe of you. The big snake jumped up happily. Good idea, good idea. Let everyone see it, and make everyone more fearful of me, so that no one dares to rebel against Lozi again. The big snake danced with excitement and toasted Liu Xing again and again. Liu Xing smiled slightly. If you want people to die, they must first make people crazy. Just keep you happy for a few more days. Kurazumi Oki. 20. The identity is exposed, and Xiao loses its color, seeking a monthly ticket for flower evaluation after the banquet is over. Kurazumi, the big snake, asked Liu Xing, Quinn and others to prepare a residence, and at the same time ordered his men to invite well-known people from the 6 areas of Julai, Ximai, Rabbit Bowl, Lingu, and Baiwu. This please must of course be enclosed in double quotation marks. Although Oki has been in the general position for more than 10 years, he is still extremely unpopular in Wano Kuni. If it hadn't been for Kaido's big backer, he might have been ousted by the people of Wano Kuni long ago. Oki also ordered that a videophone bug be placed in all the villages in Wano Kuni. 2 days later, all the people of Wano Kuni will be able to watch his subordinates eat monster cells through the videophone bug. Thinking of such a scene, Oki was so excited that he couldn't sleep all night. And it wasn't just Kurazumi who couldn't sleep, there were 2 other people as well. In a dark secret room, during the day, Xiao, the Oiran who was soft and weak, had a determined look on her face at the moment. On the opposite side of her is Denjiro, the incarnation of Qi Shiro. Xiao said worriedly, Denjiro, you heard it during the day. That beast concubine brought 100 monster cells. If Oki's subordinates really eat it, then our day of revenge will be even more distant. Denjiro's face was also full of worry, and he sighed. This matter is my responsibility. I wanted to provoke the relationship between Kaido and Oki and make them turn against each other. Unexpectedly, Kaido actually agreed to Oki's request. To be frank, Denjiro really can't understand. The person he sent to find Kaido obviously has a commanding gesture of condescension. With Kaido of the beast's temperament, how could he not be angry at all, and still obediently offer 100 monster cells? Xiao comforted, you also discussed this matter with me at the time. We all have responsibility. When it comes to responsibility, the key now is, how to stop the big snake and the beast consort. Denjiro thought for a while and said slowly, there is only one way. What? That's stealing. Stealing the monster cells. Steal the monster cells. Xiao murmured, this is indeed the only solution. But, how to steal? Denjiro looked at Xiao closely, then I will be wronged by Miss Yuri. Xiao immediately understood what Denjiro meant. It is to let her use the beauty trick to lure beast consort, and then wait for the opportunity to steal the monster cells. Xiao bit her lower lip. To be honest, she didn't want to go, and she was even a little afraid to see that beast consort, because the look of the other party during the day made her still feel lingering fears until now. But, thinking of her parents' blood feud and the tragic experience of the Wano Kuni people today, what is her personal emotion? Okay, I'll go, Xiao said firmly. Liu Xing looked at the luxurious clothes in the room, and the corner of his mouth raised a mocking arc. In order to curry favor with him, Kurazumi probably gave him the best room in the general's mansion. In order to repay your kindness, I will thank you with your head in 2 days. Liu Xing thought leisurely. Suddenly, his eyelids moved, and observation Haki sensed that a person was approaching his room. Kazuki Hiyari, what did she come to do with me? Liu Xing was quite surprised, and a hint of vigilance rose in his heart. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Liu Xing calmly opened the door and pretended to be surprised. Little Zip, you are visiting late at night. What are you doing? Seeing that Liu Xing's gaze was not as sharp as that of the day, Xiao breathed a sigh of relief and smiled sweetly. Don't take offense. The little girl saw the concubine's splendor in the daytime. She looked extraordinary, She was happy, and she happened to have a pot of fine wine, so she wanted to drink with a concubine. What does it mean to drink late at night? Who knows? Coupled with Xiao's flower-like face, big watery eyes, and a soft, glutinous voice that scratches people, even the Iron Man has to be melted by 3 points. However, Liu Xing, who had been prepared for a long time and knew Xiao's true identity, was only amused in his heart, and he pretended to be obsessed. I am so flattered by such a beautiful woman. Taking advantage of the situation, he grabbed Xiao's pair of jade hands, hugged him halfway in his arms, and entered the door together. Xiao half pushed, and snuggled into Liu Xing's arms. The two went straight to the edge of the bed. Xiao said tenderly, "Don't be in a hurry, consort, let's have a glass of wine first." He broke free and poured 2 glasses of wine. She has a cup, Liu Xing has a cup. There must be something wrong with this wine. Liu Xing seems to be obsessed, but deep in his pupils, he is very awake. He didn't shirk, but he wanted to see what Kazuki Hiyari had in mind. The two crossed their arms and drank a glass of wine. Xiao blushed and looked ashamed. Liu Xing wanted to go up to hug Xiao, but suddenly stroked his forehead and said, "My head is so dizzy." Then, he fell on the bed. Xiao's glamorous red lips curved, and she glanced at Liu Xing, who was unconscious. "I thought you were good during the day, but I didn't expect you to be no different from those stinky men. But that's fine, it's convenient for me to do things." Xiao stood up and went to look through the package that Liu Xing was accompanying. After searching for a long time, she couldn't find what she was looking for. No, why not? Are the monster cells not placed here with the beast consort, but with the plague queen? Xiao was stunned. Should not be. The monster cell was invented by the concubine of beasts, and the status of concubines of beasts was obviously higher than that of queen. To be honest, all the weirdo cells should be here in Liu Crossing. Suddenly, a voice that seemed to be laughing but not a laugh made Xiao's face suddenly pale. It turns out that Miss Raiha is here to find the weird cell. "I'm really sorry, I didn't bring it at all." If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this and join my Patreon if you want to support me. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.